GeekNet every fourth Monday at 7 p.m. W5SC.
KF5, JHA, 7 minutes, actually 6.5 minutes, until Skynet.
W5FC. ARRL NTS Net nightly at 6:30 p.m. W5FC.
Two minutes until Skynet. This is KF5JHA.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
This is Chaz, KF5JHA. Does anyone need to use repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet? This is KF5JHA, and my name is Chaz. I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night since 2012 at 9 p.m. on Saturdays, yes, concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs to become more familiar with the nighttime sky, daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter this net at any time by using the pro sign break break and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic at this time? This is a directed net. I don't know if I feel like a director, but I guess I am. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be Chaz, me. And stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions like this, KF5JHA. This weekly net operates on a frequency of 146.88 megahertz with a private line tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible. There's already people over there using the W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Let me see. We've got John and Kelly and Melissa and Tom and Romy. That's the people on Echolink right now. Tonight's topics: astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to w5fc.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not to be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. This net is 90 minutes long, sometimes a little bit longer, sometimes a little bit shorter. It's structured into several parts. We'll try to get all of them covered. General astronomy announcements, the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, National Space Society events, discussion topic of the evening was space exploration and space history, constellation of the week, I should say Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week, space launches of the week, and recent astronomical discoveries, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, and astronomical Q&A. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. Now, okay, let me see. We're going to start with low power and short time check-ins. Now here, I do the check-ins a little bit differently because I don't do this very often. Because of that, I'm going to ask you to go very slowly, give your call sign phonetically, like Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, then your name and your location. We're going to do it 3 people at a time. After 3 people, I'll confirm what I hear, and then we'll move on to the next 3 people and so on. So right now, low power and short time. Come now if you have low power or short time with your call sign name and where you're transmitting from this evening. First 3 people, please.
This is Form Juliet, Dustin, and Dallas.
This is Whiskey 5, Golf, Uniform, Sierra, Gus, far northeast Dallas, low power 5 watts.
This is Whiskey Bravo number 4, Mike Foxtrot, India, WB 4 MFI, Ted, Dallas, low power.
Okay, we're going to pause right there. Thank you, Ted. And Gus, Justin, I didn't get your call sign. There was a little bit of a double. Can you come back with your call sign, Justin?
Kilo India 5, Uniform Juliet.
Thank you so much, Justin. Okay, the next 3 people now. Come with your call sign phonetically, slowly, so I can write this down, and your name and your location.
Kilo, Golf, 5, Uniform, Foxtrot, Romeo, Jacob, Farmers Branch. Short time.
Kilo, Golf 5, Whiskey, Victor and Lima, James, Carrollton.
Kilo, India 5, Golf Romeo Hotel, Melissa, Third City.
Okay, we're going to stop right there because I believe Melissa's actually in Disaster City. That's what I'm telling her anyway. Welcome, Melissa. James, I've got you, and Jacob, I've got you. So the next 3 people, come now. If you are low power, short time, that's what we're checking in right now. Low power and short time. Come now with your call sign, your name, and your location, please.
This is Kilo, Foxtrot, 5, Papa, Lima, Huey, Richardson, 4 watts.
Kilo, India 5, November, Yankee, Tango, Lynn in Fort Worth, short time.
Okay, I believe we've got Lynn and Huey. Okay, now we're opening it up to general check-ins at this point. Once again, bring your call sign phonetically, slowly, so I can write this down, your name, and then your location as well. Next 3 people, please. Just 3 people at a time.
November, Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony and Dallas.
Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert and Richardson.
This is Alpha Golf 5, Papa Mike, Rich in Rockwall, AG 5 p.m.
Thank you. Next recognizes Tony and Robert and Rich. Thank you so much. Okay, the next 3 people, come now with your call sign, your name, and your location. Remember, call sign phonetically, please, and slowly, please, so I can write it down. Thank you very much. This is 42 over here at the link. Oh, that's Kelly's Social Security number. Okay, all right. Phonetically your name, phonetically your call sign and your name, and then your location.
Kilo Echo 5,
India Charlie X-ray, Tom in Louisville.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda in DeSoto.
This is Alpha Golf, Niner, Sierra Golf, Antonio in Dallas.
Thank you. The net recognizes Tom and Brenda and Antonio. Some of the regulars on Skynet, that's great. And we're up to 15 people so far. So come now, once again, with your call sign phonetically, slowly, your name and your location. The next 3 people, please.
Kilo India 5, Charlie Delta Foxtrot, Matthew, Waxahachie.
Sorry, I was writing down your call sign, Mr. Name. Can you come back once again with your name?
Matthew, Mike Alpha, Tango Tango, Hotel, Echo, Whiskey.
Oh, thank you, Matthew. I see you on Echo Link as well. I'll tell you what. Let's open this up to Echo Link as well. I see Romy, John, Kelly, Jay, and Johnny all on Echo Link. Anybody want to check in on radio or over Echo Link? Come now if you want to do that. I'll wait for extra time just to get you to be able to check in over Echo Link. Go ahead now.
Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey, J near Weber on Echo Link.
Go November Foxtrot, Johnny in Austin.
This is Kilo 5, Kilo Tango X-ray, Kelly in Fort Davis at the Fruit Ranch.
Okay, the net recognizes Jay and Johnny and Kelly. I don't know why you're not out with your telescope, Kelly, because it looks like, from my perspective anyway, that it looks like it's pretty clear at Fort Davis this evening. So, okay. The next 3 people, come now with your call sign, any location. You can do it over Echo Link or radio frequency. Come now phonetically, slowly with your call sign and your name and your location.
Golf 5, Zulu Mike Golf, Joe in Arlington.
Okay, then that recognizes Joe and John. Oh, yes. Okay. One more try at check-ins, and then we'll move on to the next things that we're going to do on Skynet. Come now, slowly with your call sign phonetically, your name and your location if you'd like to check in to Skynet. If not, we'll take your sign in later on too.
Juliet, Delta Whiskey, John in Norman, Oklahoma.
N2 VIP, Ken in Las Colinas.
Ooh, the last check-in. Can you come now again with your call sign and your name? Las Colinas, I believe, is the location. Go ahead.
Las Colinas.
Okay, I'm missing your call sign and your name. Go ahead and press on your push-to-talk button. Wait for a moment or two, and then go ahead and start transmitting. Thank you.
N2 VIP, Ken, Las Colinas.
Thank you. Into GIG is what I've got. Thank you very much for checking in. Okay, I think I've got JJ. I'm checking you in. He's over on Echolink, N5IMS. He's always in Carrollton. I don't know. Does he ever travel outside of the city? Maybe. And then let me see. Is there anybody else on Echolink that hasn't checked in? I think everyone else has checked in. All right. This is KF5JHA, and we'll move on to the next thing on Skynet, and then we'll do some more rounds of check-in a few minutes. Okay, let's see now. Does anybody have any general announcements for this evening's net? It can be ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest to any licensed hand. Ham, go ahead if you have an announcement for the net tonight with your call sign. Tony, I'm disappointed. You usually want to talk about the Afterglow movie, but that's okay. We'll get to that later on, too. Okay. Other announcements. Let's see now. The Amateur Satellite Group, AMSAT, has 2 nets available in the Dallas residence. On Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Time, you'll need Echolink installed, and you need to be registered to get into Echolink. You can find the net under Groups and AMSAT. There's also a live audio link is available on their website, amsatnet.com. This net originates from Houston, Texas. Now, Dallas AMSAT Net East, this is for Dallas every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on the repeater. This repeater, 146.88 megahertz with a private line tone of 110.9. On Tuesdays, Tom, N5HYP, is the net control. All are welcome to check in. The first Tuesday of the month is the DARC Club Night, so no AMSAT East night, which would be this coming Tuesday. There's a club meeting instead. Dallas AMSAT Net West is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater at 147.14 megahertz, private line tone 110.9, positive offset. Okay. Let's see now. There's a whole bunch of other nets. Let me go ahead and go through a couple of them anyway. On this repeater On Mondays, there's a whole bunch of different nets that go on. Ham Fixins on the first week of the month. On Monday, the second week, there's an Ecom 101 net. On the third week is Ham Fixins again. On the fourth week is a Geek net. And if there's a fifth week, and I believe in May there will be a fifth Monday, it's a surprise net. I can't tell you what it's going to be because then it wouldn't be a surprise. Let's see now. Tuesdays, of course, we talked about the MSAT, EastNet at 8 p.m. Fridays, Miss Cert City. She says LT Insert City is what she's got over there on Echolink. I still call it Disaster City anyway. It's the most disaster-prone place on the planet. Okay, let me see. What else? Can't forget on Saturday nights, of course, we have TechNet at 7 to 8, of course, on this. And Skynet, 9 to 10:30, and then the Afterglow movie as well. Oh, there's so much stuff. Daily, the ARRL traffic net happens every night at 6:30 on this repeater. Now, all of you are welcome to all of these nets. All right. I have something on the script that says something about an alien and some sort of Afterglow movie, and I think Tom, KE5ICX, can tell us all about this. It's all yours for a few minutes, Tom. Go for it.
Well, thank you, Chaz, and thank you for doing the net this evening. So here's my highly accurate description of tonight's Afterglow movie net, which is after this net at 9:30. So at 10:30, not 9:30, 10:30. Here we go. The alien climbed out of his crashed spaceship. He scanned the countryside, carefully looking for intelligent apes on horseback. None could be seen. He pulled out his binoculars and looked for the Statue of Liberty, just in case he'd missed out on something. Nothing again. Before he knew it, he'd been captured by historical inhabitants, Norse countrymen, who don't use deodorant or wear underwear. He picked the wrong week to give up interdimensional time travel transport. Join us for Brenda's favorite movie of all time, Outlander, from either 2007 or 2008. You pick it. Tonight at 10:30 p.m. Back to you, Net Control. This is KE5ICX.
Why, thank you so much, Tom. And I think, don't you blame Brenda for the picking of the movies every week anyway? I think every week you say this is Brenda's favorite movie of all time. I don't know. Okay. The next is the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas event. Their meetings, where you can look through the telescope, and we usually call on Chaz, KF5JHA. But we're going to let the Net Control do that tonight anyway. Oh, wait. They're one of the same. Okay. Slide Master, that would be Tom. Go ahead and bring up the slide about the Texas Astronomical Society. The next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, May the 27th, 2022, at 7:30 p.m. The meeting will be in person at the University of Dallas and will also be held on Zoom. If you're still at home and you want to stay in touch with the Astronomy Club, if you're a member, you'll get a Zoom link about a week or so before the meeting. Kevin Cobble and a friend and fellow, I believe they both graduated from the University of Oklahoma, Bill Coupling, will be the featured speakers talking about citizen astronomy and recent occultation observations. Now, on Saturday night, there's public observing sessions that have begun once again. And about a month ago, I transmitted from one of them. And the next one that's scheduled will be next week at this time. I might be there live again. Hopefully the weather will be okay. One of the reasons why Skynet was picked to be on Saturday nights was so that there could be an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing sessions, which are also held on Saturday nights. Now, I haven't looked at the website recently, but I hope the website is getting caught up since we are doing public observing again. TexasAstro.org will give you up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing sessions. Now, before we move on, I received some information this afternoon, which I believe is a free offer for a C-band satellite dish. Now, you can contact Joe Eisen directly at his email, joe@utdallas.edu. But if you're interested in that, now, if you do that, please let me know so that the offer won't be sent out to the entire Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas membership. So let me know if you're doing that. My email is chazeh1@gmail.com. Charlie Hotel Alpha Zulu Echo Hotel 1@gmail.com. That's my email. So I hope somebody takes this offer since it's free. All right. Now, usually I'd call upon Bill in 5BB. He didn't sign in for a very good reason. He's out of town. He's watching the Austin Lounge Lizards. Maybe I shouldn't have told you that top secret thing. So I'm going to talk about the National Space Society of North Texas. The next local chapter meeting is going to be on Sunday afternoon, a week from tomorrow, on May the 8th at 3:30 p.m. at the Spring Creek Barbecue in Irving on Highway 183. Don't know the meeting topic yet. Now, if you have any questions about the National Space Society, you can send an email to Bill. His email is space@byrom.net. BYROM.net, and that's his email. So, yeah, let everyone send him an email. Because he's not here, we might as well do that. We've got 24 check-ins. All of you have emails. Maybe you have multiple ones. Okay. All right. Do we have any more check-ins? If we have any more check-ins, please come now with your call sign, phonetically, your name, and your location. Please do your call sign slowly so I can write this down, since I only do this 4 times a year.
November 5, Oscar Foxtrot, Clay and Mesquite.
I think there was a double. Kilo 5, Golf, Lima, Delta, Randy Rowlett.
Randy and Clay, I've got you checked in. It sounds like there was a partial double, but Randy, you may have been part of that. I don't know. If there is another person that wants to try to check in right now, please come now with your call sign, your name, and your location. Remember, give your call sign slowly so I can write them down. So far, I've done pretty well writing them down. Okay, I guess that was it. All right. I guess what we've got now is the section called Was Up. And again, we need to call on Chaz for that. Oh, that would be me. Okay. Actually, we have a topic of the night, but I'm just shifting that over to Was Up anyway. So, Slide Master, slide number 1. Yes, this is Chaz, KF5JHA. My degree's in astrophysics. I'm in charge of the astrophysics labs and geology labs at the Dallas College on the Brookhaven campus. And we do call this segment of Skynet Was Up. Slide Master, slide number 2. Today, on April 30th, the moon is at a new phase. I bet you can't see it in the sky. On May the 5th, the moon is at its apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 405,285 kilometers. On May the 8th, the moon will be at its first quarter phase. On May the 15th, the moon will be full, and there will be a total lunar eclipse. And I'll talk about that in detail in just a few minutes. On May the 17th, the moon is at perigee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 360,298 kilometers. Slide Master, slide number 3, please. Now, you may have missed it, but you can still do it tomorrow morning. It was kind of cloudy this morning. But early this morning, Jupiter and Venus, which are the two brightest objects in the sky other than the sun and the moon, were in conjunction with a separation of only about half a degree apart. So tomorrow morning, it should be clear enough. Go out and take a look. They're still going to be pretty close, less than a degree apart, but they're not going to be as close as they were this morning. Okay, Slide Master, slide number 4, please. Also, earlier today, there was a partial solar eclipse, but it was not visible from North America. Oh well. Slide Master, slide number 5, please. On May the 2nd, in the western evening sky, during a very strong twilight, you'll have to look before it gets completely dark, there's a conjunction of the moon, the planet Mercury, and the star cluster, the Pleiades. Now, binoculars will probably be required to do this, to pull them all out of the twilight. So I would go out there and try to take a look. Slide Master, slide number 6, please. Now, back in 1986, did you see it? Did you see that comet, Comet Halley? Well, if you did or you didn't, you can still see it at the beginning of May. Well, at least small parts of the comet anyway, Comet Halley. When Comet Halley travels in its orbit, it leaves small bits of debris behind. These small bits of debris orbit the sun. At the early part of May each year, the Earth runs through this debris cloud. The particles run into the Earth's atmosphere so hard and so fast that they burn up into the Earth's atmosphere. It's a combination of them running into the Earth's atmosphere and the Earth running through the debris cloud. It's a combination of both. This is the reason for the Eta Aquariid meteor shower. The Eta Aquariid meteors peaks around the night of May the 5th and 6th, with on average about 55 meteors per hour. In other words, about 1 meteor per minute. More meteors are usually seen in the morning sky in the hour just before morning twilight. So get up early on this May the 6th rather than staying up late on May the 5th. But wait, inside the city you might only see a dozen meteors in an hour because of light pollution. And this year the moon is just a few days past new, so the morning peak won't be affected by that. You could start observing around midnight and stop observing at twilight. Since in the city you might only see a meteor every 10 minutes or so. Now, I recommend the state parks. Texas state parks are open for overnight camping. They've been that way for quite some time, and that way you can get away from the city lights. There are over 80, I think there are at least 80, parks and wildlife refuges that you can go out camping. You'll see many more meteors in the dark skies of the Texas state parks. The Orionid meteor shower in October is also caused by the debris of Comet Halley. Slide Master, slide number 7, please. Now, how many of you out there have observed an asteroid? I want to see a show of hands. Go ahead and raise your hand. Yeah, okay. Okay. On May the 6th, you have an opportunity to observe Saturn and the asteroid Vesta. They're going to be less than a degree apart from each other in the early morning eastern sky. A pair of binoculars and or a telescope, as well as a good finder chart, will be good tools to use while observing. If you take a look at the pair a couple of days before or a couple days afterwards, you can find Vesta and Saturn by them moving apart from each other. So that might be a good thing to do. I've done that before. I've seen that asteroid before by watching a star pattern and looking at it a night or two later and seeing which one moves. So that's kind of interesting. Slide Master, slide number 8, please. On the night of May the 8th and 9th, the Eta Lyrid meteor shower will be at its maximum and only produce a few meteors per hour. Once again, get away from the city lights, but we're getting close to full moon at that point, so it might be difficult to see much of anything. Just a week away from full moon. Slide master, slide number 9. On the night of May the 15th, 16th, there's going to be a total lunar eclipse, of which the entire eclipse will be visible for us here in North Texas. A lunar eclipse occurs when the moon moves into the shadow of the Earth. Most of the time, the moon moves just above or below the Earth's shadow as it orbits. But a couple times a year, the moon travels into the Earth's shadow. There's a lighter part of the Earth's shadow called the penumbra and a darker part of the shadow called the umbra. When the moon moves completely into the umbra shadow of the Earth, we have what's called a total lunar eclipse. The eclipse on May the 15th and 16th is a total lunar eclipse. The last total lunar eclipse visible in Dallas was on May the 26th, 2021, and the next total lunar eclipse will be visible from Dallas later this year on November the 8th. Slide masters, slide number 10, please. On the night of May the 15th, 16th, of course, that's the total lunar eclipse, which is visible across all of North America, so you can tell all your family and friends as long as they live here in North America. It begins when the moon enters the lighter part of the Earth shadow called the penumbra at 8:32 p.m. Central Daylight Time on May the 15th. This part of the eclipse is difficult to notice. At 9:28 p.m. Central Daylight Time, the moon enters the darker part of the Earth shadow called the umbra. The moon goes completely inside the umbra at 10:29 p.m., which is the beginning of what we call totality. The middle of totality, the middle of the eclipse, is at 11:11 p.m., and that's on May the 15th. Totality ends when the moon begins to leave the umbra at 11:54 p.m. Central Daylight Time, and the moon leaves the umbra at 12:55 a.m. Central Daylight Time on May the 16th. The eclipse ends at 1:51 a.m. Central Daylight Time on May the 16th when the moon leaves the penumbra part of the Earth's shadow. This will be a great opportunity to try your skills at taking astronomical pictures. If it works, then great. But if not, you have another opportunity to image another eclipse again on on November the 8th with the next total lunar eclipse. And this is KF5 JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide number 11. Once again, the Texas Astronomical Society Dallas Club meeting is going to be on Friday, May the 27th at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Dallas, and also held on Zoom. Kevin Cobble and Bill Coupling will be featured speakers talking about citizen astronomy and recent occultation observations. I used to do lots of occultation observation things, and this will be something of interest to me. To get more details about that and also the observing sessions, the next one's going to be held a week from now in Garland. TexasAstro.org for up-to-date information. Huey is on the air. I heard him check in earlier, got him written down, so you could call out to him if you have a question. Now, do any of you out there in Radioland have any questions or need a fill on any of the information, or do you have just a general astronomy question? I don't know everything, but I might know the answer to your question, or someone else on the net might know the answer to your question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question. You know, I multitask a task during the Skynet, and I'm watching Storm Chasers on, I guess, Quest, TV station. Yeah, because usually Star Trek doesn't come on till later, so I have to wait. Oh, slide number 13. So as the moon wanes at the end of April, so these words for the segment of Skynet: stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live. And pray sorry for the people of Ukraine, and until next week, actually, I'm going to be doing the rest of Skynet as net control. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is Chaz, KF5JJ, and we're going to the next segment in just a moment. WB5OZL. Brenda, I believe it is your turn for space exploration and space history. Come now, it's all yours.
Hello, this is WB5OZL. Give me just a second, please. My apologies. I'm having a lot of trouble with my computer today, and switching back and forth between Chrome and Firefox, and I don't know how this is going to all work out. But anyway, I'm up and running now. Space exploration news. The wreckage of Perseverance backshell was found. New pictures from the Ingenuity helicopter offer a fresh perspective of the wreckage left behind when the Perseverance rover landed on Mars last year, NASA said on Wednesday. Launched in 2020, Perseverance rover successfully landed on the Red Planet in 2021 with a mission of finding ancient signs of life on Mars. The rover carried the Ingenuity helicopter on board, an experimental project that scientists on Earth hoped would be able to see sights that the rover couldn't. Perseverance went through a grueling process known as the 7 minutes of terror to descend onto the Martian surface. As it entered the atmosphere, a heat shield helped protect the rover from the blistering heat of re-entry and slowed it down dramatically. After that, the massive parachute deployed out of the back shell, a cone-shaped part of the descent vehicle, slowing it down even more. At that point, back shell and parachute separated for Perseverance and let the descent stage take over using rocket thrusters and a sky crane to gently lower the rover to a smooth landing. Next, about news about James Webb. Alignment of the James Webb Space Telescope is now complete. After full review, the observatory has been confirmed to be capable of capturing crisp, well-focused images with each of its 4 powerful onboard science instruments. Upon completing the 7th and final stage of telescope alignment, the team held a set of key decision meetings and unanimously agreed that Webb is ready to move forward into its next and final series of preparations known as Science Instrument Commissioning. This process of setting up and testing the instruments will take about 2 months before scientific operations begin in the summer. Next, we have space-related birthdays. Yvonne Kegel, April 24th, 1959, no missions. Ellen S. Baker, April 27th, 1953, STS 3450 and 71. Paul Lockhart, April 28th, 1956, STS 111 and 113. Jerome Apt, April 28th, 1949, STS 37, 47, 59, and 79. John Oliver Creighton, April 28, 1943, STS 51G, 36, and 48. Michael J. Smith, April 30th, 1945, STS 51L. Of course, he tragically died in the Challenger. Victor J. Glover, April 30th, 1976, SpaceX Crew 1, Expedition 6465, and Dwayne G. Carey, April 30th, 1957, STS 109. And happy birthday to Eugene Shoemaker, who, this is on April 28th, who, along with many other contributions, studied impact craters on Earth, helped map the geology of the Moon, and co-discovered Comet Shoemaker-Levy. Not long after its discovery, Comet Shoemaker-Levy dramatically collided with Jupiter in July of 1994, the first collision of two solar system bodies ever to be observed. I remember it well. We went out and watched that a lot. It was pretty exciting. All right, space history. The Hubble Space Telescope was launched into low Earth orbit on April 24th, 1990, and remains in operation. It was not the space telescope, but it is one of the largest and most versatile, renowned both as a vital research tool and as a public relations boon for astronomy. The Hubble telescope is named after astronomer Edwin Hubble and is one of NASA's great observatories. The Space Telescope Science Institute selects Hubble's targets and processes the resulting data, while the Goddard Space Flight Center controls the spacecraft. Hubble features a 2.4-meter mirror, and its 5 main instruments observe in the ultraviolet, visible, near-infrared regions of the electromagnetic spectrum. Hubble's orbit, outside the distortion of the atmosphere of Earth, allows it to capture extremely high-resolution images with substantially lower background light than ground-based operations. It has recorded some of the most detailed visible light images, allowing a deep view into space. Many Hubble observations have led to breakthroughs in astrophysics, such as determining the rate of expansion of the universe. On April 27, 1959, America's first NASA astronauts reported for training. In the photo, if you are on the link, Project Mercury astronaut Walter M. Schirra, Jr. prepares to enter the gondola of a centrifuge to test his response to gravitational stress. Then Apollo 16, it was the 10th crewed mission of the United States Apollo space program administered by NASA and the 5th and penultimate to land on the Moon. It was the second of Apollo's J missions and an extended stay on the lunar surface, a focus on science and the use of a lunar roving vehicle. The Apollo 16 mission splashed down in the Pacific Ocean 50 years ago on April 27, 1972. Astronauts Young and Duke spent 20 hours, 14 minutes exploring the lunar surface while Mattingly orbited the Moon in the CM. All right, back to that. This is W5OZL.
Thank you so much, Brenda. It's exciting about the James Webb Telescope. If you haven't seen the images that came out this week, you've got to go take a look at them. Ooh, they are spectacular. They haven't fully commissioned all the instruments yet on there, so they're not saying these are the first images yet. So they're going to be coming out soon, though. But the images they're releasing are just spectacular. Okay. Is there anyone that hasn't checked in that would like to check in? Come now with your call sign phonetically and slowly, and your name and your location if you'd like to check in for tonight's Skynet. We're up to 26 so far.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth.
Okay, Sean, I've got you in here. Hey, we're up to 27. Our goal is always to reach 42 if we can some night. And after 42, we won't check anybody else in. And if you don't understand that, you need to read Hitchhiker's Guide. Okay, thank you, Sean. All right, the next segment is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. Side Master, side number 14, please. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key Carolyn, KC5OZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas skies throughout the year, out of the 88 total constellations, so Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky as seen over North Texas in a year. In her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Carolyn's constellation, actually two of them, constellations of the week this week, are Crater the Cup and Corvus the Crow. Yes, I do have something to crow about tonight. Slide master, slide number 15, please. Now, how do you find Crater and Corvus? Well, let's start with something we've talked about before. How about the Big Dipper? If you follow the handle of the Big Dipper, it curves, and it arcs to the star Arcturus. Then you keep on going to the star called Spica. That's the brightest star in Virgo. Now, just go down, in other words, south, and a little bit to the right, that would be west, from Spica, and you'll run into the constellations of Corvus and Crater. All right, slide masters, slide number 16. This is what everyone wants to hear every week in Skynet, the jokes of the week. Okay, here we go. What do you call an illness that targets crows? COVID-19. Why are ravens so smart? Because they spend all of their time hanging out at the college. I had to do that, where I work. Okay. I saved a tiny baby raven, and now he won't leave. You have to fill in the blank here. I guess you could say he's micro. Micro. Okay, the next one. Before the invention of the crowbar, crows had to drink at home. Come on, some of these are funny. I can see you laughing out there. Okay, what's the difference between a raven and a crow? Pinion feathers are the feathers at the tip of the bird's wings that allow it to fly. They're also the ones that people will trim to prevent birds from flying away. Crows have 5 pinion feathers, while ravens have 6. So if you think about it, the difference between a crow and a raven is just a matter of opinion. It was too long a one to do, wasn't it? Slide master, slide number 17. Oh, yes. Because I have plenty of time, and there are 2 constellations, we have more jokes, yes. This one's about cups. An optimist says the cup is half full. A pessimist says the cup is half empty. The optometrist says they both need glasses. Now, I learned from my friend John Cotton, he's a ham. I don't think he's ever been here on Skynet, but I hope that sometime he will. He does show up at the Astronomy Club meetings on occasion. In fact, the last several meetings he's been on. But John Cotton says that an optimist says the cup is half full, the pessimist says the cup is half empty, but an engineer says the cup is too big for the amount of water that you have. Yep, that's what I learned from him. So, what do you call a sad cup of coffee? Miss Disaster City is thinking about this one. What do you call a sad cup of coffee? Depresso. Depresso. Now, someone stole my favorite cup right off my desk at work. Now I have to go down to the police station and look at some mugshots. If a cup had holy water in it, a vampire should never drink from it. Okay, how do you fill in this one? there's too much risk of cross-contamination. Oh, there's only one more left. Aren't you glad about this? I see the applause out there on Echolink, yes. John, JDW. Yeah, that's another joke for another time. Thank you. He's got a joke on Echolink, and yes, that would be the toilet being stolen from the police station. They have nothing to go on. Oh, I'm sorry. A king has 3 cups in front of him. The first 2 cups are full. The third cup is empty. What is the name of the king? Let me repeat it. A king has 3 cups in front of him. The first 2 cups are full. The third cup is empty. What is the name of the king? King, fill up the third. I'm sorry, GRH. Missed Disaster City. Yeah, it was kind of hard, wasn't it? Billy, I'm going to recognize you on Echolink. Welcome to this free-for-all tonight. We have an interesting net control, so I don't know. It might be going okay. You'll have to ask other people if it is or is not. But I've got you checked in, PDF. I believe you're probably in Sherman. That's what I'm writing down anyway. All right. Slide number 18. The constellation of Crater represents the Goblet or the Cup of Apollo. There's a reason that the 3 constellations, Crater, Corvus, and Hydra, are all together in the sky. It is because they are from the same story in Greek mythology, where Apollo gave his cup to Corvus, the crow or raven, and sent him on a mission to fetch the waters of life. However, Corvus was lazy and rested in the tree while waiting for its fruit to ripen, which he ate after a lengthy rest. When Corvus finally fetched the water, he also brought back a water snake, using it to lie to Apollo, saying the snake had delayed them. Apollo saw through the lie and angrily threw the crow, the cup, and the water snake into the sky, where they became the constellations of Corvus, Crater, and Hydra. Gamma Craterus is a fairly easy double star. The primary star is white, an A-type main sequence star, and shines at about 4th magnitude, while the companion shines at 9.6 magnitude, kind of faint. Need a telescope. The system is 84 light years from our solar system. Slide master, slide number 19, please. Okay, Melissa, insert your search city instead. Okay. NGC 3513 is magnitude 11. That's pretty faint. Barred spiral galaxy with some irregular structure. The central bar is fairly easy to make out. In a 17-inch, or if you have an 18-inch obsession, telescope. There's somebody on Echolink that has a new one. Some of the spiral arm structure may be seen with difficulty. Slide master, slide number 20. If you don't know what an obsession telescope is, it's like the Cadillac of, maybe it's a Lamborghini of telescopes. I don't know. Slide number 20, NGC, that means New General Catalog. 3511 is another barred spiral galaxy of type S, capital B, little b, C. It is magnitude 12 and is 4 by 1 arc minute in size. This galaxy is seen obliquely, which makes it difficult to clearly resolve the arms. NGC 3511 and NGC 3513 together make a nice pair of galaxies in the same field. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Yeah, that's why they're called obsessions, Kelly. Yeah, I keep on looking over at Echolink. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you need to sign into Echolink. It's just a lot of fun. Slide master, slide number 21. Corvus is a Latin word that means crow or raven. In taxonomy, the science of animal classification, the genus Corvus includes both crows and ravens. Corvus and the neighboring constellation of Crater, the Cup, both appear to be riding on the back of Hydra, the water snake. Algorba, Delta Corvi, is the Arabic word that means raven. Algorba is Algorab, excuse me, I've got it wrong. Algorab is a double star and is easily split. Its binary nature was first noted by John Herschel and J. South in 1823. No change in position or separation has been seen between the two stars since then. But it is a true binary star because both stars have the same proper motion. The brighter star appears and shines at about 2.95 magnitude, where its companion is only 8.5. Opinions differ as to the color of the two stars, ranging from white and orange to pale yellow and purple. Yeah, we had a student one time thought that an orange star was purple, so I can understand that. Slide Master, slide number 22. The Stargate, quoting from the TASS Spectrum, that's the newsletter for the Texas Astronomical Society, article, the Stargate cluster is an asterism found by TASS member John Wagner while he was searching for M104 with his binoculars. This grouping of stars reminded John of the Stargate used by Buck Rogers to travel into outer space, so John named it Stargate. Officially, the star cluster is cataloged as STF 1659. This is from the catalog of French Struve, who noted the group in 1832. Stargate is also known as HD 109556. The cluster, and I'm using it in quotation marks, consists of a set of 6 stars that form a set of nested equilateral triangles. John named the group the Stargate at the Texas Star Party. That's going on right now, and is Kelly still on there? We're going to see if we can get a report from her. And the name stuck. So there's actually an arrow of stars pointing right at the Stargate. And a great finder's way of finding it is using that arrow pointing at the Stargate. Slide Master, slide number 23. Okay, there's a new person, I believe, on the air. Let's see, have I checked him in before? Nope, he's already been checked in. Okay. Johnny, I guess you lost the connection and came back in. So, okay, there you go. Slide Master, slide number 23 is M104, the Sombrero Galaxy, NGC 4594, is really in Virgo, but is so close to the Virgo-Corvus border that it's tempting to include it here. Besides, before the constellation boundaries were formed by the International Astronomical Union in 1930, M104 was often listed as being in Corvus. Many astronomers believe that M104 is an outlying member of the Virgo cluster of galaxies. In his book, The Mesiagics, Stephen J. O'Meara notes that M104 has a place in history. In 1913, Vesto Slifer of the Lowell Observatory studied the spectrum of M104 and became the first astronomer to detect rotation in a galaxy other than the Milky Way. Slide Master, slide number 24, please. NGC 4027 is another unusual galaxy. It's located very close to the antenna galaxy, about 40 arc minutes away, and both it and the antenna can fit in the same low-powered field of view. However, it is a bit difficult to see, so you'll need a clear, dark, moonless night to find it. Robert Burnham Jr. In Burnham's Celestial Handbook notes that 1943, that in the year 1943, Harlow Shapley noted that NGC 4027 and NGC 4038 and 4039 are almost certainly physically associated or have been. Burnham writes that this is a probable companion system to NGC 4038-4039. It resembles a one-armed spiral and its single tail curving to the north and east in general direction of the ringtail. The projected separation of the two systems is about 1 million light years, which implies that their interacting, if any, must have occurred some distance in time ago when the separation was much less. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 25. There are a few more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellation of Crater the Cup and Corvus the Crow. I've just given you a sampling of a few of those objects. The Astronomical League has 73 different observing programs at last count, most of which have about 100 objects, give or take a few. If you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pin in about a year. Slide Master, slide number 26, and that is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, Crater the Cup and Corvus the Crow. I do want to thank my friends David Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for their research and words on the deep sky objects that I've used, borrowed, and stolen for tonight. Well, I steal for every night. I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Now, next week, I don't know what I'm going to look at because I forgot to copy in the right constellation. Oh, well. This is KF5JHA. Now, what I'd like to do is to send it to Kelly, K5KTX. I should have done this early in the net because I want you to give us a report from the Texas Star Party. Please do that.
Okay, Chaz, this is K5KTX, and I am at the Texas Star Party. This is the final night, and at this point, probably 80 to 90% of everyone has already packed up and ready to, they've either left or they're going to leave early in the morning, which is myself. It's been a very good week, although the attendance has been pretty low. I know as of Thursday afternoon, the gate duty team, which includes me, had given out just over 300 wristbands, so we think that a lot of people canceled because of the high gas prices. I know I spent $75 today to fill up my little tiny truck, so probably that had a big impact on it. But we've had some really great speakers this week. We've had Dan Gerda, who is a planetary scientist with the Southwest Research Institute. He's also going to be an astronaut on a future Blue Origin flight. And so he was a very interesting guy. And then our speaker on Thursday night was Deborah Bird. And she is actually the founder of the Texas Star Party. And she had a very interesting story to tell about how the Texas Star Party got started. And as of this year, we've been on the Prude Ranch out here in Fort Davis for 40 years, so since 1982, which is pretty cool. Overall, the weather has been pretty good. It's not been extremely hot. It's not been extremely cold. What's the biggest issue out here right now is that they've had very little rain, if any, for the last year, and it's extremely dusty. And the last 3 days, we've had these huge dust devils that have gone across one of the observing fields. That would be the one that I was set up on. There's 3 observing fields. There's the lower field, which is down near the highway. Then there's the middle field, and then there's the upper field, which is kind of up high a little bit, but it's also the one furthest back in the ranch. And we've had 3 huge dust devils that have turned telescopes upside down. Luckily, mine was okay, but one of them went directly over the Celestron area that was on the upper field, and tarps went flying, chairs went flying, And if you're friends with me on Facebook, you can probably see the video there. It was just unbelievable how big this thing was. Someone actually captured it on video. In terms of astronomy this week, like I said, the weather has been pretty good. The first couple of nights, we didn't have the best seeing. There seems to be a lot of smoke in the air. I'm not sure. I think there were some fires down in Mexico that have made an impact. I don't think any of the fires in New Mexico have had an impact. But I know a couple of the items that were on this year's telescope list were just, I could not find them at all, and several other people had the same issue. They were 11th magnitude galaxies and some globular clusters that just I could not find the first couple of nights, and then Thursday night things were much clearer, and I was able to get all of those. So I got my pin for this year's telescope list, which was called What's in a Name, and so they were all objects that have interesting names, like the Splinter Galaxy and the Whale Galaxy and several others like that. So it's been a lot of fun. I was also in charge of all the birding events this week, so I didn't get to stay up very late for some of the nights because I had to get up early the next morning and lead the birding trip. Anyway, so it's a really great event, and the next year's Texas Star Party will be, believe, let me see here. It's going to start on May the 14th. So put that on your calendar. May the 14th through the 21st of 2023 will be the next Texas Star Party here at the Crude Ranch in Fort Davis, where we have really good dark skies, and they will start signing people up around November or December of this year. So you can go to the TexasStarParty.org and get all the information. And I think that's all I can think of right now. This is K5KTX. Back to you, Chaz.
Thank you so much, Kelly, for the report live from the Texas Star Party. I do have a question for you, Kelly. In the past, Mr. Wagner was the person who actually did the observing list each year, the basic one, not the advanced one, but the basic one. So can you tell me, do you know who created the list this year?
So the person who has taken over John Wagner's responsibilities is Chris Over. I believe he's from the Houston Astronomical Society, and he did a very interesting list. There was one object on there that Gary Carter and several other people pretty much determined does not exist. It's a diffuse nebula of some kind, and so it's a good thing that they only required 20 objects out of the 29 that were on the list. But he's taken over those responsibilities. And I also would like to mention that John Wagner won the Lone Star Gazer Award posthumously this year. And then we had two students from the Texas Astronomical Society who won the Student Observer Award this year. So it's pretty neat that we had lots of recognition from our local astronomy club in Dallas. This is K5KTX. Back to you.
So much. I just wanted to talk about John Wagner a little bit, since we did talk about the Stargate, which he named. So that's great. Thank you so much. All right. Once again, are there any people out there that would like to check into Skynet this evening to get credit? We have a few more minutes, and we have a couple more segments to go through, so let's see. If you'd like to check in, give me your call sign slowly, phonetically, your name, and your location if you'd like to sign in. fine. We're sold out at 29. Okay, the next segment for this Skynet is going to be space launches for the week. Mr. Tom, KE5ICX, it's all yours for a few minutes.
All right, thank you again, Chaz. This information actually comes from Spaceflight Now launch schedule at spaceflightnow.com. And they do update this quite frequently. So what I have, starting with May 5th, Falcon 9 Starlink 4-17 launch from Launch Complex 39A at Cape Kennedy Center, Florida. We'll launch another batch of Starlink Internet satellites. Falcon 9's first stage booster will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. We have also May 8th, Falcon 9 Starlink 4-13, surprise, surprise, SLC-4E at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. It will launch another batch of satellites. Falcon 9 first stage will land on a drone ship in the Pacific Ocean. On May 9th, we have Long March 7 Tianzhou 4 mission. The Long March 7 rocket will launch the Tianzhou 4 resupply ship to dock with the Chinese space station. The automated cargo craft will be the third resupply freighter to the Chinese space station. In May, we have Capstone launching. This would be from Launch Complex 1 in Mahia Peninsula in New Zealand. This will be NASA's CIS Lunar Autonomous Positioning System Technology Operations and Navigation Experiment, or Capstone. Boy, they had to be creative to come up with that. Mission to the moon. Capstone will fly to the moon on Rocket Lab's Photon space tug, entering a unique halo-like lunar orbit to test deep space navigation and communications in the same orbit to be used by NASA's Gateway mini space station. We have also May 16th, Falcon 9 Starlink 4-15. This is from SLC Cape Canaveral. Another batch of satellites, Falcon 9 stage, will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. And then let's see here. We also have Alpha Multi-Payload. This one's launching from Vandenberg Space Force Base. A Firefly Alpha rocket will launch its second test flight with a ride-share payload consisting of multiple unspecified small satellites. And here's the big one we have on May 19th from SLC-41 at Cape Canaveral. The United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket, designated AV-082, will launch Boeing's CST-100 Starliner spacecraft on a second unpiloted test flight to the International Space Station. This mission was added after Boeing's decision to refly the Starliner's orbital flight test before proceeding with crew flight test. The rocket will fly in a vehicle configuration with two solid rocket boosters and a dual-engine Centaur upper stage. We also have in May the SSLV demonstration launch. This is from Satish Dhawan Space Center in India. It'll be a small satellite launch vehicle, SSLV, on its first orbital test flight, consisting of three solid fueled stages and a liquid-fueled upper stage. The SSLV is a new Indian launch vehicle designed to carry small satellites into low Earth orbit. And I'll give one more. On May 25th, we have Falcon 9 Transporter 5. This is from SLC-40, Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. The SpaceX Falcon 9 will launch the Transporter 5 mission, a ride-share flight to a sun-synchronous orbit with numerous small microsatellites and nanosatellites for commercial and government customers. Oh, and it does say here, which is kind of interesting, it was moved to Cape Canaveral from Vandenberg Space Force Base. So apparently you can launch the same, that one's going out of Earth orbit, so that is, it does say, wait a minute, what's it say? Oh, well, I have to look this one up and discombobulate it. It's interesting that they moved it from one launch pad to another. I'll tell you more next week once I read about it. Back to net control. This is KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. Hey, recent astronomical discoveries. Brenda, W5 WB5OZL, it's up to you again. Oh, I hope Brenda didn't drop out. We'll try it again. Brenda, WB5OZL, do you have recent astronomical discoveries? I know you were having some computer issues. We'll give you another moment or so.
Oh, I've got a back channel message from Brenda. She says she messed up her radio. So this is KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. Well, we'll just go back to you then, Tom. Hey, do you have any information about visible satellite passages over the next couple of days?
Yeah, I do. We've got not a lot, but a little bit. Well, maybe a few more than I thought. No ISS passes, unfortunately, but we have Tiangong, which is the Chinese space station, currently with 3 Chinese tachyonauts on board. We have a pass on May 1st. That's pretty good. Let's see here. This one, oops. I gotta go back. I'm having my own problems tonight. Let's see here, 1.0 magnitude, 5:12 a.m. at 38 degrees, reaches its highest point almost directly overhead at 5:13, and it falls at 5:16 to the east and southeast. Then on May 4th, 1.3 magnitude, this is in the evening at 21:57, it reaches its highest point of the west-southwest at 2200 even, and it will go into shadow at that same time at about 68 degrees into the northwest. Then we have on May 5th, 1.1 magnitude, 20:57, an hour earlier from the day before, reaches its highest point at 21 degrees, 2100 at 60 degrees, and then it falls to 2104 to the east-southeast, so that's a full pass. Let's see, the X-37B has a couple of passes. That's the mysterious unmanned winged Space Force airplane or spacecraft that lands like an airplane. We have May 3rd at 3.8 magnitude. That might be a little bit of a challenge here in Dallas. 4:10 a.m. reaches its highest point at 4:50. Oops, let me get the right one here. So the next one I want to read, May 3rd at 0.8 magnitude at 5:42 a.m. reaches its highest point at 61 degrees at 5:45 and falls at 5:48. Then on May 6th, we've got 0.1 magnitude at 21:29 in the evening. 21:32 reaches highest point, falls to the southeast at 21:32. And then finally, old reliable, which is Envisat, which is a dead satellite that's very big, environmental satellite that was decommissioned at least a decade ago. It has 2 good passes. We have on May 3rd, 3.5 magnitude at 5:51 a.m. It'll reach its highest point at 5:56, and then it'll fall at 64 degrees, and it'll fall at 6:01 at 10 degrees. Then at May 8th, we have 3.1 magnitude, 6:04 a.m. out of the north-northeast. It flies directly overhead at 90 degrees at 6:10, and it falls at 6:15 to the southwest. You see, you might want to ask and see if Brenda is back. She says, I'm back, so I think you can probably go back to her. This is KE5ICX, back to net control.
Did I hear you right that Brenda's back? Brenda, if you're out there, you are welcome to do the segment that we just skipped over. Go ahead.
Thank you for your indulgence. This has not been my day for technology. I went, picked up my microphone, pushed something, and everything went dead. So I had to figure out what I did. And I did, so here I am back again, but I couldn't do it instantly. So, this article is entitled, Earth's Atmosphere May Be the Source of Some Lunar Water. This is pretty exciting. Hydrogen and oxygen ions escaping from the Earth's upper atmosphere and combining on the moon could be one of the sources of the known lunar water and ice, according to new research by University of Alaska Fairbanks Geophysical Institute scientists. The work, led by UAF's Geophysical Institute Associate Research Professor Gunther, not going to pronounce that, adds to a growing body of research about water on the moon's north and south poles. Finding water is key to NASA's Artemis project that planned a long-term human presence on the moon. NASA plans to send humans back to the moon this decade, as NASA's Artemis team plans to build a base camp on the moon's south pole. The water ions that originated many eons ago on Earth can be used in the astronaut's life support system. The new research estimates the moon's polar regions could hold up to 3,500 cubic kilometers, 840 cubic miles, or more of surface permafrost or subsurface liquid water created from ions that escaped Earth's atmosphere. That's a volume comparable to North America's Lake Huron, the world's 8th largest lake. Researchers based that total on the lowest volume model calculations, 1% of Earth's atmospheric escape reaching the moon. The majority of the lunar water is generally believed to have been deposited by asteroids and comets that collided with the moon. Most was during a period known as the Late Heavy Bombardment. In that period, about 3.5 billion years ago, when the solar system was about 1 billion years old, it is argued that the early inner planets and Earth's moon sustained unusually heavy impact from asteroids. Scientists also hypothesize that the solar wind is a source. The solar wind carries oxygen and hydrogen atoms, which may have combined and been deposited on the moon as water molecules. Now there's an additional way to explain how water accumulates on the moon. The research was published March 16th in the journal Scientific Reports in a paper authored by and geo-authored by PhD student Nicholas Hassan of the Geophysical Institute and UAF Water and Environmental Research Center at the Institute for Northern Engineering. Several colleagues from the Czech Republic are also named as co-authors. They suggest hydrogen and oxygen ions are driven into the moon when it passes through the tail of Earth's magnetosphere, which it does on 5 days of the moon's monthly trip around the planet. The magnetosphere is a teardrop-shaped bubble created by Earth's magnetic field that shields the planet from much of the continual stream of charged solar particles. Recent measurements from multiple space agencies, NASA, ESA, and Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency and Indian Space Research Organization reveal significant numbers of water-forming ions present during the moon's transit through this part of the magnetosphere. These ions have slowly accumulated since the late heavy bombardment. The presence on the moon and the magnetosphere's tail, called the magnetotail, temporarily affects some of the Earth's magnetic field lines, those that are broken and which simply trail off into space for many thousands of miles. Not all
W5FC.
Not all of Earth's field lines are attached to the planet at both ends. Some have only one attachment point. Think of the thread tethered to a pole on a windy day. The moon's presence in the magnetotail causes some of these broken field lines to reconnect with their opposing broken counterpart. When that happens, hydrogen and oxygen ions that had escaped Earth rush to those reconnected field lines and are accelerated back toward Earth. It's 10:30, I think I'll quit there. That's most of the article, so you get the gist of it. This comes from ScienceDaily.com. Back to net, WB5OZL.
Thank you, Brenda. And this is KF5JHA. We can't forget a couple of dates that is famous for astronomy and space. One just passed. That would be April the 26th. That was the unofficial Alien Day. The 1979 film Alien, the alien came from a moon named LV 426. 426, April 26th. So in honor of that, I've got to tell an alien joke. So how do you put an alien's baby to sleep? You rock it. And of course, coming up soon is the unofficial Star Day, May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. So Billy has given us this line up here on Echolink. Why did episodes 4, 5, and 6 come out before episodes 1, 2, and 3? Well, because in charge of directing Yoda was. All right. So are there any last-minute check-ins for Skynet? Come now with your call sign, your name, and your location. Please call sign phonetically and slowly, please. I was afraid we weren't killing anymore. Oh, I misspoke earlier. I said there was 29. There's actually 28. I checked somebody in twice. All right, so let's see. So tonight we had, again, 28 hams participating on the air. That's including me. Thank you for all who checked into this evening. We hope you join us here next week with a different net control. Much better, I'm sure. And every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for new net control stations for this and all other DARC nets. If you'd like to try your hand at this, if I can do this, you can. Or any of the nets, send an email to net@w5fc.org. You can follow the topics, discussions about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net, which is happening in just a few seconds. So until next Saturday night, this is KF5JHA Chaz. I'll be closing the net at 10:33 in 10 seconds local time, returning the repeater to back to normal amateur use. Of course, I'm not normal, so that's pretty much already known. 73, everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe and everything else.
Thank you, Chaz. This is KE5ICX. We'll be back with the Afterglow Movie Net discussion in about 5 minutes. So go do something, come back in 5 minutes. We'll see you then. This is KE5ICX. to get started. I have figured out this movie was actually produced in 2008. So what is the movie tonight? Well, it's called Outlander, not Outlier, Outlander. And it could be considered outlandish or something. But it does say right in the Wikipedia, it says not to be confused with Outland, the film, or Outlander, the TV series. Yes, they made a TV series out of this. So let me tell you what it says about it. It says Outlander is a 2008 science fiction action film starring Jim Caviezel. I never know how to pronounce that guy's name. Sophia Myles, Jack Houston, John Hurt, yes, he was in it, and Ron Perlman, yes, he was in it, and written and directed by Howard McCain. The plot is loosely based on the Anglo-Saxon epic poem Beowulf, adapted to a science fiction backstory involving a spaceship crashing in Iron Age Norway. The film grossed a magnificent $7 million compared with a budget estimated at $47 million. Now, how the heck you would decide to be brave enough to do a TV series is beyond me. So I'm going to read the plot. Let me see here. Such as it is, the spaceship crashes in a lake in Vendel-era Scandinavia. That's 1550 to 790. The only surviving occupant, a humanoid alien, retrieves a distress beacon and a computer which explains that he is on Earth, a seed colony that his people have abandoned. The computer downloads the local Norse language and computer and culture directly into his brain. The spacemen soon find a freshly destroyed village where he is captured by Wulfric, played by Jack Houston, a warrior from another village. Wulfric takes him to a fortified village of King Hrothgar, played by John Hurt, father of Frida, played by Sophia Myles, and he hopes will marry a future king, Wulfric. Hrothgar is concerned that Gunnar, played by Ron Perlman, the giant guy, chieftain of the destroyed village, will assume it was Wulfric's doing. Wulfric's father, Hrothgar's predecessor, has been killed by Gunnar. Wulfric interrogates the Outlander, who identifies himself as Kanan. That's Jim C., claiming he is from the north. States he is hunting a dragon. The village is attacked at night by the unseen creature, which kills several men. Kanan identifies it as a Morwen, a predatory creature which has caused his ship to crash and now will hunt men and animals alike. When Kanan is taken with a hunting party to find the Morwen, he kills a gigantic bear that had slain some of the hunters, proving himself to the others who would begin treating him as a part of their tribe. Gunnar and his men attack the settlement, retreating after casualties on both sides. They soon return, pursued by the Morwen, and enter the safety of the village. Kanan devises a plan to build a huge pit just inside the village entrance, fill it with whale oil, and leave wooden shields floating on the surface. Freya becomes increasingly attracted to Kanan. He explains to her in Morwen's origins, Kanan's people invaded on its land, or planet, slaughtered it in the billions, and built a colony there. The Morwen, now the last of its kind, massacred everyone in the colony, including Kawan's wife and child. When his ship returned to the colony, the Morwen snuck on board and later caused the crash. After listening to Kanan's tale, Freya gives him a family sword, saying she was told that she would know what the man to give it to. Kanan and Wulfric lure the Morwen to the village. They cross the oil pit by running on the shields, but the Morwen falls into the pit and the oil is set on fire. Morwen bursts out, kills several people, then escapes. Meanwhile, an offspring of the Morwen sneaks into the hall where the women and children are hiding. Eric, the orphan boy with Kanan has been looking after, alerts Hrothgar, who is killed as the women and children escape. Kanan realizes they need stronger weapons to kill the Morwen. Kanan and Freya and the newly crowned king, Wulfric, return to the lake to retrieve fragments of the metal from Kanan's submerged ship. Kanan is underwater. The young Morwen attacks the boat, taking Freya. Kanan and Wulfric return to the village, where the fragments are soon forged into weapons before descending into the Morwen's lair. But wait, there's more. Just 2 more paragraphs and I'm done. Freya awakens with a pile of bodies in the underground lair. As the young Morwen moves toward Freya, it is distracted by the sound of Kane's hunting party. Many of the hunters are killed, but the young Morwen is blinded by Broromir. When it returns to attack Frida, Kanan and Wolfric pass one of the new swords in which he slays the young Morwen. Let's see, the cave exits in a high waterfall where the adult Morwen attacks. It seriously wounds Warwick before Kanan engages it in battle. When Frida joins in, Kanan is able to knock the Morwen over the cliff's edge to its death. Frida and Kanan return to Wolfric's side, where he passes the kingship to Kanan just before he dies. One last paragraph. Kanan tells Frida to wait for the rest of the warriors and kisses her before he heads back to the lake. Night falls as Kanan retrieves some items from his ship, says goodbye to his wife's submerged coffin, then destroys his distress beacon just as Freya sees the rescue spaceship approaching, leading her to believe that Kanan was sent by the gods. A rescue ship departs without Kanan, who stays as king, weds Frida, and they adopt Eric. And they all lived happily ever after in the year, whatever, 550 to 790. Who knows? The Vendel era. And with that plot, I will now take check-ins. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come with your call sign, your name, and let me know. You can also say where you're at. Let me know if you saw Outlander from 2008, science fiction action film with Vikings. If you would like to join us, please come now.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas. Yes, I did see the movie.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey, Jane there, Weatherford. I saw the film.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. Name is Brenda in DeSoto. Yes, I saw this movie.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth. Yes, I've seen the film.
Kilo Alpha, pardon me, Kilo India 5, Kilo Whiskey Golf Cruise in Arlington. I saw the movie.
Okay, it looks like the usual suspects have checked in. I've got NT5TM, Tony in Dallas. Yep, he saw the movie. KG5BZW, Jay near Weatherford. Yep, he saw the movie. WB50ZL, Miss Brenda, DeSoto. Yep, she saw the movie. KB9SOK, Sean in Fort Worth. Yep, he saw the movie. And KI5KWG, Cruise Arlington. Yep, he saw the movie. Do we have additional check-ins? Please come now.
Ken in Louisville, gee whiz, Ken in Las Colinas. I saw the opening crash scene in the movie.
Okay, I think that's N2 VIP, Ken. I recognize the voice, and I think I remember the call. You chop off. That was in the previous net too. You chopped off about 2 seconds in your transmission, which is really weird. I've never seen that happen before when you've been on the radio. But just next time when you check in, I've got you here, and I got you checked in, and I will come back to you even though you only saw the crash scene, you can tell us all about it. How's that sound? I'll take additional check-ins. We got Ken on board. Anyone else? Please come now. Okay, there may be more later. I'm not sure. It's been kind of quiet the last few weeks, but here's the game plan. We will start with discussing the plot. If there was one, I'm not entirely sure. We'll do a second round talking about characterization. You got some A-list actors in here doing B-list work, and then, or maybe another letter. And then finally, we'll talk about special effects, music, anything you want to discuss or anything that you missed the first couple of rounds. So we shall begin. I'm just going to take everybody in order. So we'll start with Tony, NT5TM. Tony, your thoughts on the plot for Outlander from 2008.
Thank you, Tom. Whenever I'm unsatisfied with something, I like to recommend an alternative that's better, if I can. If you want a much more fascinating plot about someone from an advanced civilization stranded among primitive people who are nevertheless, really human and good characters and all that, read The Doomsday Book by Connie Willis. The Doomsday Book by Connie Willis, an absolutely outstanding novel that's well worth everyone's time and attention. Unlike this movie, I found the plot to be really unsatisfying and unengaging. You'd think that being based on Beowulf, they could have done a lot with it, but they just didn't. For some reason, I found the similarities to Beowulf more annoying than anything else, and I just, what happens next? I don't care. This is really more third-round stuff. I don't know if I can stay awake that long, but I will briefly say that, they certainly had money to spend. There was never anything jarring like, oh my gosh, what a bad set or a cheap costume or anything like that. This was clearly a good, solid effort, but it was just unsatisfying and could not pull me in. And I really wish I had made some popcorn. There were a couple of plot points I really objected to, and one of them is I don't recall, you said it might be called the Vendel era or something like that. It doesn't really matter, because if I were from an advanced civilization visiting this era, I would call it the no anesthesia, soap, or dental care era. That's my name for this era. And although I'd be very touched by how hard these people fought and worked and how proud I was to fight alongside them, I want to go back where the soap, anesthesia, and dental care is located. I also just can't believe the rescuers would have given up because the beacon happened to turn off. That kind of thing happens in rescue work all the time. Well, not so much the smashing it on purpose, but the signal faded out. Let's look. Anyway, NT5TM.
Oh, thank you, Tony. I would agree with you on that one, but I'll save mine for the end. Next is Jay, KG5 at BZW. Jay, what did you think about the plot to Outlander from KE5ICX?
Oh, this is KG5 BZW. Let's see. I don't know. I can't really hate it, but didn't exactly like it. But I don't know. The popcorn comet seems to be. Oh well, I remember YouTube. I watched it on YouTube. Somebody made a comment about it. Popcorn movie material and yeah, that's popcorn and movie, really it's kind of sad that they spent as much as they did on it, although I thought the special effects were good, so I do think the money was well spent in that regard. But yeah, the way the whole story worked is kind of a B-movie fare, and really should have gotten a B-movie budget if they could have just been a little bit, I don't know, more creative or something. Well, they really, I don't know. They, with the budget that they had, they really just needed a better story. Let me see. Let me reset. There, it wasn't particularly engaging. Well, let's see. I can't remember. What? I mean, there's the one obvious success that Jim Caviezel has had, and I think he's been kind of, if you want to call it a success, but it's one. I think as an actor, he probably wanted to just get away from it, just but I don't know if it's, I just blame it on him. I think he was perfect for what was written for him, but what was written for him was, I don't know, it needed to be more lively something. I saw that they had a comedic, and the bald guy who was apparently also their blacksmith for a comedic effect. Could have done a little bit better with that. Ron Perlman, good guy, did his lines well. I'm going to characters, aren't I? Well, that's where you get when you don't keep really saying much about the plot. Let me say that one more time. It was just kind of a boring movie, but just not. It was not something I would hate. It did not grate on me like some movies do. It's just like, okay, I've got a couple hours to watch it, and I'm kind of glad I don't know. I'm glad I didn't watch it with advertisements, because that would probably put me over the edge. But anyway, I don't know what else to say. I'll just leave it at that. Can't you find me, Debbie?
All right, thank you, Jay. And that's okay. Not knowing what to say is probably okay when it comes to this movie. Let's see, WB5OZL. Miss Brenda, your favorite movie, from what I understand. What did you enjoy it this time around? And what did you like about it? From KE5ICX.
This is WB5OZL. You're a real funny guy. You know that? I had never seen this before. Frankly, I think it was an appalling waste of Jim Caviezel. He's a great actor and one of my favorites. But this just... Well, first of all, I didn't think he was believable in this part. And I wouldn't exactly say it was boring. It's just... I'm probably going to get hit for saying this, too much like Lord of the Rings, one battle after another, and pretty soon you get battle fatigue, because that's all there is. Or some movies where it's just one car chase after another, and after a while you go, could we have a story or a plot or comedic diversion or something besides just all this fighting? I was a little baffled as to why it lost so much money. So far as movies go, it wasn't that bad. There's a lot of movies that are worse that do okay. It might have been a marketing problem or an image problem. I think this kind of thing, a lot of people would just lap up. But obviously I spent tons of money on costumes and sets and all those extra actors. They didn't spend it on the script, though, and that's the problem. But if somebody told me they were making this movie and gave me a little synopsis and who is in it, I go, well, boy, that's going to be really good. And then it's not. It's, I know it's hard. Sometimes it's a fine line between a movie that's really good and one that's just so-so. And this one turned into the so-so. They say it's like Beowulf, maybe. I don't know. I didn't exactly see that, but if they say so, okay. Not quite sure why they felt the need to go to an ancient Norse civilization. I would have thought, I don't know. I'm curious as to why they made that choice. Thinking of some others that may have worked out better. So let's see, what else about the script? My understanding is that monster stowed away on the ship and went with him as a stowaway. I'm just having trouble believing that. He's huge and he's noisy and he would have to eat. He'd be nabbing the people to have something to eat. So I'm having trouble with that part of the script. All right, back to net, WB5OZL.
All right, thank you, Brenda. And let's see here. Apparently she didn't like it as much as she did the first few times. KB9SOK, you saw the film. What did you think as far as plot from KE5ICX?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, this was a very, 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 very simple plot. Basically, obviously, they wanted to make a movie in medieval times and have a monster to fight and decide to throw in some aliens. That's pretty much what's the end of this. That was definitely, like you said, you kind of read about it and you think, wow, this is going to be a good movie. It had all these, good actors in it, and, it's like, who doesn't like a good space movie? And who doesn't like medieval and sword fights? This should be fantastic. And unfortunately, there just wasn't a plot. I agree with Brenda's comments. Like, I thought the same thing. It's like, how did this monster stow away for so long, especially as big as it was? And the ship didn't look like it was a very big ship. So that seemed a little weird, for sure. And I also agree, I think somebody said earlier about the ending. It's like, why would an alien race fly all the way to our planet, start to enter an atmosphere and go, whoop, signal's gone, I guess he doesn't want us to rescue him. That just seems strange. And why couldn't he just simply have talked to him and said, hey, I'd rather stay? But obviously they need some dramatic content. So yeah, really this movie was super simple. We've seen the basics of this many, many, many times. A lot of these medieval movies, you got to where the king wants to give away his daughter for some kind of betterment of, his empire, and then of course she resists, and of course she ultimately runs off and finds the true love of her life, and so we had a little bit of a sort of a love story, which we've seen 100 times, which ain't necessarily bad if it's done right, but this one just did not feel right. So yeah, this really boiled down to just let's kill a monster movie, which can be okay. There have been a few movies out there, obviously, that were good, that had some development. We had Aliens. If you want maybe even a more primitive, more basic, just shoot 'em up kind of movie, you got Predator, which were enjoyable movies, but they were it was just better put together. You don't necessarily always have to have a movie with a deep plot and all this and that. Sometimes you just want to enjoy it, sit back and not think about it. And unfortunately, this one just failed because it just didn't do the plot well enough to even get by the basics. So it's kind of disappointing. I didn't hate the movie. I didn't want to shut it off, but I wouldn't watch it again. It was just very, very, very simple, which sometimes is okay, but this one, it just seemed like it was missing on several parts. And with the quality of the actors, and I think it was best said earlier, this is really just a B movie. And unfortunately, it's kind of a disappointment because it, like I said, it looked like it maybe had some good potential there. that just was just so basic, and the characters just felt off, which I guess is the next round. So I was just kind of disappointed about it. So not a whole lot to say to this. Back to net, KB9, it's okay.
All right, thank you, Sean. So, not getting a lot of positive vibes here. Next up, KI5KWG, that's Cruz. Your thoughts on the plot?
KI5KWG. It seems so plotting. That's the first thought. PLODDING. For an action, well, like Brenda said, for an action film, it was one battle after another, and I was bored. I was just bored waiting for something interesting and new to happen. So it didn't work for me. But I paid attention through this whole film, and I thought at the very beginning when he lost that super neato high-tech weapon, that was a plot element. But then it wasn't. We just never saw it again, and you're like, hey, somewhere in ancient Norse area, there's this really high-tech weapon that could come to be something, but it was just forgotten. And with all that technology in the crashed ship, all he needed is better metal to forge a sword. That was not able to carry as much weight as they put on that. Captain Kirk made a cannon out of what was lying around. So this was a Beowulf meets Alien meets Planet of the Apes, as y'all have alluded to. The Great Hall scene for character development was cringe. It was just an awkward, long, dark, pointless scene, I thought, and we didn't get the character development we really needed. We got a friendship out of it, I guess, is what they were trying to do, but gosh, that must have taken 15 minutes of the story. So I think that's the comments I have written down here on the plot. Wait a minute, one other thing I made a note of. Were those people down in the ship in those rectangular things, were those coffins or were they in stasis? And either way, I thought that was a plot hole, or maybe I missed something. That's what I've got. So on KI5KWG, back to you, Net.
All right, thank you, Cruz. No, they were coffins, no doubt about it. And he said goodbye to his wifey, because he had a new girlfriend by that time anyhow. So it didn't matter, and kind of shoved her down into the bottom of the lake, never to be seen again. Okay, next is Ken, N2VIP. Ken, you saw the beginning of the film, which makes it technically, yes, you saw the film, or some very short part of it. Now, since you only saw a little bit of it, or you've already gone to bed, or you've turned your radio off, or you may respond, be brave enough to respond, would you be willing to watch the rest of this movie based on what you've heard already from KE5ICX?
In a word, no. I put the movie on about 9 o'clock tonight, and I turned it off at 9:02. I wrote down some notes while everybody else was talking about my 2 minutes, my minute of movie. I'm going to reset. I'm coming in through All-Star, by the way. I don't know if that's what's causing the problem. Production company reels at the beginning. They had phenomenal graphics and action and all this sizzle, and then the movie just wasn't. And then I noticed when the spaceship tumbles to Earth, it's on fire, crashes into a lake and river, but there's no steam? That seemed odd. A couple other odd details. Jim Caviezel's helmet doesn't work, as opposed to everything else being perfect in movies, which is sort of a nice thing. And then on the splash, when the ship hits the river, fish throw up on the ground and they just flop around, and they had a close-up of that. I don't know why that was an important detail. And I happened to just notice and think the aliens were amazingly human-like. So with that, I'll end.
All right, well, thank you, Ken. And the reason why they were human-like is because the Earth was one of their seed places, you know, like the little cubed Wheaties box that came down and helped too. This too was what happened. It was they look like us because they are us, you know. But okay. All right, I will ask if there are any additional check-ins at this point. If you'd like to join us, please come with your call sign, your name. And did you see tonight's movie called Outlander from 2008? Not to be confused with Outland, the film, or Outlander, the TV series. Anyone like to join us, please come now.
W5 bacon, lettuce, tomato. W5 BLT, Bill. Yes, I think I saw the movie.
Wonderful. Bill is back. He took a week off to recoup and I don't know whatever it might have been from that fine film we saw 2 weeks ago. W5BLT, Bill, we're talking about the plot. What did you think about the plot since you admit you've seen this film?
Well, first I thought it was me because I've been on muscle relaxers for a lot of muscular pain. And this caused mental pain. I didn't think anything could make me want to go back and watch Malice in Wonderland, but this did, and I not really sure what I saw. It didn't engage me at all. I kept having to stop it and sleep, and then start it again, and then go back to sleep. I was totally lost, so glad you guys are filling me in. And yeah, I almost went back and watched the last week's movie again, but so yeah, that's 2 in a row here that was tough, and I just thought it was the muscle relaxers, but apparently not. W5BLT.
Okie dokie, thank you, Bill. Well, the reason I picked this movie, actually, Brenda wanted very badly, but I went in and did a quick preview, and not the whole film, just a little bit of it, and I thought, okay, we got some A-list actors in it, and I saw a little bit at the beginning that looked like it was interesting. We had effects that seemed to be quite worthwhile, and I thought, hey, this might be a good one to review. You know, I try and mix them up so they're not all terrible films. We want to have some good ones every once in a while. But if it's something I've not seen, I'm not going to watch it first and then judge it afterwards. I want to see it and be excited or disappointed with everyone else at the same time. So this film seemed promising, and in fact even started out somewhat promising, and then went to hell pretty quickly. When you think about it, when you pitch this film to somebody at, what was it? Canon Films, whatever that is. I forget who it is. It's some third-rate company that has been bought out by, I don't know, 20th Century Fox or somebody. At any rate, bigger studio bought them out. But the thing that you're thinking, okay, well, this would be interesting, how to explain the Beowulf story, and it'd be all these great costumes, and it'd be a great epic only with a science fiction slant. Right then and there, if I'm the guy that's going to back this movie, I'm going to say, no, we're not doing that. That is ridiculous. And then throw the guy out of your office, right? Because somebody else is going to walk in with a better idea that will make more money. But somehow or another, I don't know what the magic was in 2008. There might have been another film. Somebody go look it up. Find out what science fiction film was so good in 2008 that might explain why they made this film. Well, 2007 is probably when they made the film, but so figure 2006, some great film came out, and they made this 2 years, and released it 2 years later. Now, I saw a film that I thought was quite good, with a period piece type of thing, although it's more in the future, was Cowboys and Aliens, which would be a fun film to do. That one takes the science fiction elements and puts it together for the Wild West type of thing, which is fine. And if you watch Svengoolie, they did a vampire western one time as well. So if you're going to do something like that, at least make it interesting, make it fun, and do something that people can appreciate and like. Vikings, they're fine. I have no problems with them. But in this case, they were pretty boring. There was nothing exciting about them. And quite honestly, when they were ripped apart by the terrible monster, I was kind of rooting for the monster. Because that was the best part of the whole darn movie, was the monsters. They actually knew what they wanted, when they wanted it, and how they were going to get it. They were also interesting to look at. Oh, that's characterization. Let me stop right there. We don't want to do that. But they did seem a lot smarter than everybody else. Way smarter. The technology, you would think that there'd be some sort of face-off with the technology, that somehow you would wow the natives, the primitive natives, into appreciating and respecting our hero. That never happens. There's a lot of time spent with him tied up and talking to everybody who will wander by. Very disengaging. I don't care. I really don't care. It's like watching a really bad Nova show, which is hard to do, but I have seen a few, and it just goes on and on and on. And the dragon thing and all that. About the only thing that was really any good was, of course, the flashback to the planet where we find and they're taking out all the poor buffalo. I mean the warlicks or whatever they are. That much was probably more interesting. I didn't mind the fact that they went down into the well at the water with the big giant cave. I don't know if there's giant caves in Europe like that, but that was a pretty giant cave. And the aliens going and seeking them out, taking their little dinners with them and all that. That was okay. Kanan, we can't talk about that, this characterization. Let me see, anything else on all this? Yeah, at the very end, I agree with everyone else. I had the same feeling. I just blew up the receiver, the speak and spell got destroyed, so we're not going to come and pick them up. Wouldn't it have been easier just to send the message, go away, don't bother me, I've gone native? And the aliens would go, it happens all the time. And, it always does, right? We see it in other movies. So, I don't know. At any rate, Dances with Wolves, for one. So this would be Dances with More Ones or something, and that's why he stayed behind. All right, that's all I'm going to say about that one. I'm going to go to characterization, so this should be kind of interesting. We'll see how this all works out. We'll start with Tony, NT5TM. Tony, your thoughts on characterization for this movie, Outlander, from 2008, from KE5ICX.
I knew this moment would come, and I've been trying to think of something intelligent to say. I will do my best. I hope others can do better. Mostly, I found the characters flat and uninteresting, and that's probably because I found the plot boring. Leaping back to the first round, it really does kind of match the plot of Beowulf. You have to defeat Grendel, and then You have to go down into the underworld and fight Grendel's mother, and perhaps the misery over his civilization wiping out the Morwen is what made him decide to accept his fate living with the smelly people who had no soap or medical care. I don't know. I actually found that kind of to be a meaningless digression that they didn't do much with, but maybe that's what it was for, was setting him up for this crisis of conscience that affected his character, but which they didn't make engaging or interesting, so I wasn't very impressed by his decision. Many years ago, during my brief career in a school orchestra, I read a thing in which a famous conductor, had said, when you're supposed to play quietly, play quietly. When you're supposed to play loudly, play loudly. Don't just constantly, coast along doing this mezzo nothing that doesn't mean anything. And that's mostly what the characters to me seemed to be. They were all kind of on autopilot doing this mezzo nothing, neither loud nor soft, neither passionate nor sad, neither in love nor in hate. Just kind of there for their paychecks, I guess, and to get a chance to wear those nice costumes. I actually have to check out so that I can get up early for the repeater work session tomorrow. So good night. I will try to listen, and I hope someone else has come up with something more intelligent to say about the characters. NT5TM. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, everybody.
All right, very good, Tony. Actually, you had quite a bit to say there. Next up, KG5BZW. Jay, your thoughts on characterization on this fine film?
Well, this is KG5BZW, and I'll take Tony's challenge and say, good job. Because that really is. That's pretty. Those are thoughts I hadn't really thought about. I guess, I should say thoughts I had thought, but not really come to terms with how to accurately describe that, because, there's just the emotion. If you just go for the emotional content, okay, there's a little bit of romance, just barely enough to qualify as romance. It's not. I'm having trouble recalling anything that was really memorable emotionally. And, hold on. Okay, just a minute. Okay, sorry. There's just, that's part of the problem with this film. I don't know. I'm trying to expand on what Tony said. It's just like there is no expansion. That's it. That's just how it is. I'm sure there's something else you can say. That there's always is, but almost always is. But the characters themselves, they're just. It's such. The combination itself is such. The sci-fi. And they can. I've seen sci-fi, comedy, whatever films combined two outlandish, or not really outlandish, two very different contexts or environments, whatever, and do it very well. The original, I'd have to think about it. I don't know. This was not one of them. It's just that. Again, it's such a, I'm going to tell you, it's like to really understand, say something more about the characters, you really had to kind of like them, and there was just not that much to like about them. They were just there. So, even, in fact, okay, let me put it this way. The Morrowind, that character probably had the most character, that particular character, even though it didn't really was so much developed, it was, in terms of expression, it was probably the most developed in terms of how many fancy ways it killed people. That was kind of interesting. So in a grotesque way, yeah, that might be the most interesting character. But other than that, I don't know what else to say. Which sounds like what I said last round. But oh well. Yeah, I repeat myself. That's all. Get your 5 BCW.
Okie doke. Next is Brenda, WB50ZL. Brenda, your thoughts on characterization for Outlander, the film from KE5ICX.
Thank you. This is WB50ZL. Well, as I said earlier, I thought that Jim Caviezel was wasted. It just didn't click for me. I'm not sure who I would like better, but somehow it just kind of didn't make it. Although a lot of the other characters were pretty interesting and they were credible, A-list actors, and did a good job. But it just, the story just couldn't carry it. This movie was too long. I think that hurt it. And although I'm not sure how much it really would have helped it if it had been 20 minutes shorter. It just would have helped me, of course. I'm thinking about the monster who was a character, and it's an interesting concept. As Kanan says, we found this planet, and to us they were just beasts, and it didn't matter. We wanted the planet, so we took it, and the fact that they were here first didn't matter, so we exterminated them all. And as we're looking through the universe for life on other planets, this could be an issue that we come upon if we encounter people like the Romulans. Yeah, we would consider them people, but what if the planet was just inhabited by animals? Would we farm them and eat them? Would we exploit the wildlife that we find on some planet? I think we will. And, unless they're sentient, they're dinner. But the alien monster was kind of, he was just an alien monster driven by very basic things. He's mad, so he's going to kill everybody, and of course he has to eat. I wasn't quite sure why he just piled up these bodies to go snacking on. Why not just eat them one at a time? Because they're going to spoil before he can get to them all. He can't possibly eat that much before they spoil. Obviously, they were going for a very gruesome scene, and they succeeded. That was hard to watch. I guess that's all I'm going to say about that. WB50ZL.
All right, well, thank you, Brenda. Well, think of it this way with the gruesome scene. All these boring people are dying. Less to worry about. I don't know. Okay, next up is Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, what'd you think of characterization?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, I agree. The monster was probably the most interesting character out of the bunch. At least it showed some emotion and seemed to be legit emotion. Yeah, for some reason, Kanan, I don't know. I just didn't really, at any point in time, really care about him. He never felt like a hero. He never felt like somebody you was rooting for. Not necessarily I was rooting against him, but it was just, I don't know. And I don't know why they insinuated that, you know, the lady would instantly fall in love with him, because I don't see anything there, you know. They really didn't have any kind of real conversation. It just, she fell in love because he killed a bear, you know. Then, you know, they make this big push that, you know, that her character was supposed to be, you know, just as tough as the guys, and yet in the end they never really had her do much fighting. I guess she killed the little monster, but I was expecting her to play even a bigger role, maybe even saving Canaan. But I guess she maybe sort of did there, Dan, bowing on to him, but I don't know. It just, none of them really seemed to grow much in this. I never really cared for anybody in this one all that much. Some of the supporting actors, yeah, probably were, in this case, better than the main ones. They did what they were supposed to do. But, yeah, it just wasn't a whole lot. I don't know what it is. Something was just definitely off. And I'm assuming it's the writing. I just didn't have this big, you know, even during his big scene where, you know, he told what he'd done to these animals, you know, on this planet. You know, I didn't even, you know, for some reason I didn't even buy his emotion in that scene, you know. And for some reason she falls even more in love with him because because he realized he did something bad. Did he only think it was bad because they came back and killed his wife and kid? Or was it because he truly felt that it was the wrong thing to do? And yeah, with his character, I mean, your wife just died, literally. And yet you instantly are ready to move on and have a family with somebody else within a week. You know, I don't know. It just seemed, everything was just off by a little bit on this film. And I just didn't care for these characters. As everybody said, I think I found the monster, the creature, the most interesting part of this whole thing. You know, I wish there was something more positive to say about it. Except I didn't, you know, once again, I didn't hate this movie, but it's just, something was just off about it. A lot of things, I guess. So instead of rambling, I'll send it back to net. KB9SOK.
All right, Sean. Well, that's fine. You said there was something off with the movie. Well, I'll tell you what it was. There was no plot and no acting and no characterization. That's just my opinion. But others' mileage may vary. Next up is Cruz, KI5KWG. Cruz, your thoughts on characterization from KE5ICX.
Oh, Tom, I beg to differ. There was acting, and I'll hold off on that for a moment. But I think most of y'all would agree there was acting in this. It was actually quite good. But I'm not quite over this bad script. And if you've ever written a story, you have an idea, and you obviously have characters based on people you know and based on your own experiences, and you go, okay, so here's the concept of the setting, and here's this character with this backstory. He's going to be our hero, and we're going to throw him in the midst of this. What would he do? That's what a writer comes up with. What will this character do in this situation? So you have a high-tech, futuristic, professional soldier who's been at war with this beast in all of its race to extinction except for the remaining two. And again, I go back to his idea. What he did is decide we need to make a better sword out of better metal, and my ship has that better metal. It's ludicrous. It's ludicrous. He's got high tech. He's got all sorts of knowledge. That's not what they did with this. I don't know what they were thinking when putting this story together. The script's just awful. Now, for the good thing. The King, John Hurt, I thought he did an excellent job. He was believable. So let me reset. let me reset and calm down. He was believable. You could identify with him. He played the role of a king, as a wise man very well, as a father with a daughter he loved very well, as just one of the community. He was compassionate. I thought John Hurt really stole every scene he was in. And I wish maybe the authors had focused on him for the plot rather than this weak, simple-minded alien with a sword. I thought his daughter, what was her name? Sophia Miles. I had to look her up. Freya. I thought she did pretty good with what she had from the script. But again, the script was the failure of this movie, not the acting. And I'm KI5KWG. Back to you, Ned.
All right, thank you, Cruz, and really good points. I don't disagree with you on a lot of that. I will come back and make my own points, though. Let's see. We're going to skip Ken. Ken, just sit there and continue to listen or fall asleep. It's fine. You only saw 2 minutes of the movie, and you gave us 4 minutes of information. So imagine what will happen if you watch a movie all the way through, what you could bring to the table. But I'll come back and ask you if you're still interested. W5BLT, Bill, tell us about characterization. What you like about it, what you dislike about it, and, of course, you can bring up acting as well. It's part of characterization from KE5ICX.
W5BLT, I just had a hard time following it. I'm not sure that I have much to add beyond what people have said. I think the monster was probably fascinating, but, I read Beowulf in high school, and it was really hard for me. So I thought I was going to be able to identify with the characters in this film, and I just couldn't. I think if there had been a plot and if they had spent more time on character development, I could have gotten into it. I just kept waiting for the movie to be over. So I won't agonize over that anymore. So it is interesting. I would agree the King was probably the most interesting, and the monster. But other than that, I was honestly I was bored, and maybe because they did too much battle scene and not enough character development, I just had a hard time following it. W5BLT.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Do we have any additional check-ins at this point? We're talking about the movie Outlander from 2007. If you'd like to join us, please come with your call sign name. Did you see the film?
November 5, Sierra, Quebec Alpha. Ron. Did not see the film. I've been listening since 11:14.
All right, Ron. Well, you're a latecomer, but we're glad you're here. I'll come back and ask you at some point, would you be willing to watch this film in the future? I won't ask you now because you've only been there for about 15, 20 minutes. So 20 minutes. But I'll come back to you. Don't worry. I will. All right, my comments about the acting and the characterization. I didn't have any problems with anybody in the film as far as what they had. The scripts and all of that, it was pretty terrible. So you're working with some people that were considered A-list actors, or at least were well known. John Hurt for one, but he can spin a classic yarn anytime. So him as Hrothgar made perfect sense, and it worked. Sophia as Freya was okay. I didn't mind her. She took a hankering to Caviezel, whatever his name is, Caviezel. I found him, your main character, very weak in this film. He was not engaging. He was not interesting. He was not sympathetic. He was none of those things. And his whole motivation and love, it just came out of nowhere for no apparent reason. I think he phoned in his performance, to be honest with you. The gunner character, played by Ron Perlman, was Ron Perlman playing Ron Perlman, which is fine. He did fine, and it was, I thought, quite almost hilarious when the Morwen comes out and just kind of like cuts his head off, when he's running away. It's like, what a nondescript, boring ending. He didn't get any sort of a great heroes, or, it's just, the one that got the most interesting was the priest that goes out and talks to the Morwen and prays and does all of that, and then he gets, wiped out. At least he had a heroic or somewhat weird ending, but more so than when the gunner character got. After all that build up, and he just gets his head cut off by the tail. What the heck is that? And then finally, when Kanan decides he's going to go native and stay with them, why? It's a gloomy place. It's terrible weather. He's obviously he's lived in the with advanced technology, and he has all this stuff going for him. His spacecraft probably even had carpeting in it, whereas what's he got? A bunch of soggy rocks to deal with and a bunch of dumb people. It's like you've been sent to a gulag somewhere, or come to my office. It kind of feels the same way. I don't know. It just why? Jeez. Yeah, the kid was cute and nice and all of that, and he kind of treated him like dad and all that. So he has this instant family. Get back on the spaceship, go find somebody who has a nice wine collection, and go live with them. What the heck's wrong with these people? Advanced technology. He could be the king of the world, but why that one? Find another world with more interesting people to rule over. I don't know. Couldn't figure that one out. Let me see. Anything else on acting, characterization? I don't think I have anything else to add to that. I think everybody just, I don't know. Maybe if they had a better script, they could have done more with it. And all right, I'll buy into the acting was maybe better than I gave it credit for, but at the same time, I just, okay. Now I sound like Jay, and with good reason. I feel the same way. Here, let me throw a shoe at the television set. Okay, let's see. We got Ron there. Let's, next round. And I will be calling on our Ken and Ron on this last round and their final comments. So, on this one, we'll go ahead and talk about special effects or anything you want. Tony has checked out. He's got to get up early, so I'm going to go down to Jay, KG5BZW. Jay, anything you want to add to comments you've already made about the film? Or you can go in and start talking about special effects or music. I don't know if there was much in the way. Oh, yeah, it had a pretty good music when I think about it. Anything you want to talk about the film? Go right ahead from KE5ICX.
This is KG5BZW. Well, I mean, alright, it's talking about how the monsters were one of the most interesting characters. Grant, this is 2008, so it wouldn't be afflicted with some of the problems that problematic characters, CGI characters of the late 90s or some other stuff. It had a few issues, but I thought, but I think they covered it up pretty well by making it a little bit more fantasy-oriented. The glowing aspect of it was interesting. Originally calling it a dragon, I mean, what else would you call it? To the Norse people. And I don't know where I'm going with that. But of course, that's where they probably spent a good portion of their money. That creature was featured a lot of times, or those creatures, I should say. I don't know. There's just, it's one of those things. This film, because going back to the fact that combination sci-fi with the Norse, it's such a fantastic thing. There's not any way any film could cover everything to do with that. So it almost feels you kind of, if you have any idea what you're getting into, it's just not going to be able to explain everything. Oh wow, what they did explain wasn't that well, which we already covered. Music-wise, I don't remember. Sound-wise, there's aspects of the film I thought were interesting in that you kind of could see where they were going with it. The shields, the references that you say, oh, that's what that was for. Oh, okay, the Starman making love with the woman or whatever, and that weird aspect. Oh, they took care of that aspect with the kid. Okay, well, I don't know about adopted kids and kings and such, but still, it certainly it's like it pruned that branch of thought right there, right? Well and good, and I was like, okay, that was actually kind of clever. There's other parts that was like, okay, it just felt like it's too fantastical to really even explain the whole situation or everything. A little bit of trimming of something of scope of whatever probably could have done wonders. Then a little bit more human interaction. I mean, they did try with those. I actually was wrong. I forgot about John Hurt, but that this film is just such that it's easy to forget things, I think. And I think I did say the other actors did kind of do their parts, but I don't know. That's all I can add right now. KG5BZW.
All right, thank you, Jay. Let's see here. Whoops. Looking at the wrong list here. There's the right list. Next is Brenda, WB50ZL. Brenda, your thoughts on special effects or anything you haven't covered so far? Please go ahead from KE5ICX.
This is WB50ZL. Well, there just weren't too many special effects. How could there be? The spaceship was okay, but a couple of things disturbed me. One, why was his wife in pristine condition, her body, there in the coffin? And that's kind of a new thing. Maybe it'll catch on here. A coffin with a glass, so you could see through coffin. I think maybe that's a really good idea. And I didn't quite understand where he was taking the coffin. Taking it somewhere else I don't know. I didn't get that part. There's a bunch of stuff in this movie I did not understand. Maybe somebody smarter than me could explain it. So what else? Special effects. Obviously they did a bunch of CG in this movie. and that's probably where a lot of the $47 million went. It was pretty scenery there in, I don't know, Norway, Sweden, someplace. And I'm not sure those were all real places or imaginary ones. But anyway, it was very pretty. What else don't we like about this movie? I've seen pictures from the series, and I don't know I've never seen any of it, but they are not dressed like Norsemen at all. They're much more recent than that. So I don't know. I mean, it's an obvious thing, a fish out of water story. Here he comes, the alien, and he has to fit in somehow. Now, he did violate the prime directive by bringing that metal in there. That they made it a sword or two, and then that's it. That's going to work. Isn't everybody going to want one? Isn't there more metal on the bottom of the lake where he could go down and get? What about all the rest of his technology? Why can't he share that with his new family and new kinsmen and make them the most advanced civilization on Earth? I just don't know if he never thought of that. And, what else is different about him? He's an alien. Is he physically the same? Well, I think he's still human. But still. It's like he fit in way too easily. I think the differences between his background and theirs would have been a lot more noticeable. All right, back to net, WB50ZL.
Thank you, Brenda. Next, KB9SOK. Sean, your thoughts on special effects or anything you'd like to cover. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, this was the best part of the movie, was the special effects. The sound was decent. The music was decent. The special effects, the monster was done really well. Even for 2007 or 8, whenever this was being produced. So that was, that was probably the pluses of this movie. That's obviously where all the money went. The comments of, his motivation for staying, and I agree, it doesn't make a lot of sense. If you want to just be out of the Army, go someplace, with air conditioning and carpet, like you said. I'm not sure that's been the time period I would have picked to live out my days if I had the ability to go anywhere, in the universe. So that part was a little strange. Kind of along the lines of special effects part of the plot. Why didn't, during the final battle, why didn't he go get his, his special steel armor that he had when he was, a warrior? Obviously it gave him better protection than leather. I remember thinking that as he was fighting there. It's like, why wouldn't you go get your good armor? You want to give yourself every advantage that you could. I get that they say the gun was lost in the river, but like everybody else said, why wouldn't you use that advanced technology that was at your fingertips? There had to be something down there that you could have converted into something, or go back to the eye thing, and obviously that thing must have the mysteries of the universe, their entire history of everywhere in it. Surely he could have consulted it for, ways to, build some real explosives, or some kind of super weapon. That was part of the plot, but it's also, a little bit on the special effects. Why didn't they make use of that technology? That part didn't make a lot of sense. But some really nice costumes. There was a lot spent there. I still don't really get, which I kind of know why they did it. The scene with the shields and running around it, I guess they needed some kind of bonding experience, plus they had to explain why they used the shields later. But that seemed like a waste of 15 minutes. It just went on way too long. What else about this movie that was just odd? Well, there's a lot, but yeah, and the part though why I think the animal was storing all the bodies in the cave. Someone was asking. I think it was because of the baby. I think it was just storing food for the baby. It's an animal. Does it care for spoils? So yeah, there are some strange things in this one that just did not make sense at all. Well, maybe he wanted to be like Mutt in Star Trek. Maybe he just wanted to rule over primitive people because he knew he was way smarter than them, and he could just put weight on my hand and foot. All right, well, this has been an interesting one. We'll look forward to the next one. Back to that, KB9SOK.
All right, thank you, Sean. Oh, wait till I tell you. I just saw the name. Oh, you're going to love this one coming up. All right, next is Cruz, KI5KWG. Cruz, whatever you want to talk about, go right ahead from KE5I6.
KI5KWG. While I was bored, I was looking at something I've always enjoyed and admired is relief carving, and we saw that in the great doors to the, habitation of the people. We saw it in the medallion worn by the king and to be passed on, and it was dragons. That was like apparently the national symbol and something to which the community identified, and yet there was no backstory provided for that. And so, I mean, given the situation that we encounter that community for the first time with the dragon attacking, you could think that symbolism meant something to the people as a foreshadowing. But since we're never given any background, instead of foreshadowing and something to kind of steer the plot, it was an anachronism. It was something that has meaning for the community before there was any purpose for it to have meaning. And so as special effects go, I was enjoying the carving and trying to figure out how that was going to work in, and I was looking for details in it that might somehow tie in and be foreshadowing. Simply not there. But I thought the spaceship and the battle scenes had their fair share of pretty adequate special effects. But there was really nothing particularly memorable about anything or anything particularly new about anything in this film. And that's what I've got. Back to you, Nat, KI5KWG.
All right, thank you, Cruz. Next up is now I'll go to Ken. Ken, N2VIP, if you're still there. Ken, would you go and watch this film now that you've heard everything you need to know about whatever this thing is, Outlander from 2008?
As a surviving English major, the Beowulf aspect intrigues me, but to be honest, I'm surprised nobody else picked up on something I got from everybody's comments, and that's the Planet of the Apes throwback, where a spaceship comes from the future to the past. So that sort of intrigued me as well. I always enjoyed a good monkey movie, but I probably wouldn't go see this, and that's about all I've got. Being concerned about my commentary to consumption ratio that you mentioned earlier. So I'm clear, N2VIP.
All right, Ken. Well, we did mention it in the synopses at the very beginning. Actually, in Skynet, I didn't repeat it, but that was mentioned. But interestingly enough, I will say this: there's a TV series called Outlander, and it involves this whole thing Why? I have no idea, especially with the movie having tanked as much as it did. But maybe it's better. Who knows? Next up, Bill, W5BLT. Bill, your final comments. Anything you want to say? Go ahead, from KE5ICX.
Yeah, I was just going to see if the Outlander series was any good and if it had anything to do with the movie. So I guess I'll have to check that out. And no other comments. Appreciate everybody filling me in on the movie on the parts that I may have not understood with the visual impairment. I will say I was excited when the spaceship kind of crashed and flew across the room, and then that was it. W5BLT.
All right, Bill. Well, there were flopping fish too. That was a major component. I don't know. I think they just kind of missed the mark. Next up, Ron, N5SQA. Ron, you've been listening along. Are you going to go? Seek this movie out? It's available for free streaming from KE5ICX.
Thanks for the opportunity to chime in, Tom. No, not likely to seek this one out. Don't want to waste anybody's time, but quickly we watched another one that had been on our list. Turned out to be better than I was expecting it to be. Not great, not necessarily recommending it. Death on the Nile, we watched it on HBO Max. Agatha Christie stuff. It proved to be better than I thought it was. And I'm looking forward to maybe watching another
Elvis has left the building.
Movies you pick on Saturdays, but didn't watch this one. N5SQA.
All right, Ron. Well, thank you. I have seen Death on the Nile, and it is a very good movie. It's been many years since I've seen it, but yeah, I agree with you. And I will tell you in just a few minutes here what the next movie will be. So, my final comments on it. This was another example, which happens all the time with science fiction. It's the big trap, the big pit that's underneath the trap door. And that is, you think it's going to be a great idea. We've done it before with Planet of the Apes. It's going to be another series. It's going to be fantastic. Everybody goes, geez, you explained it so well. All the costumes, authentic things. We got Renaissance. We got space. We've got the two of them together, even though it's not the same thing. We've got Vikings. We even had a Viking funeral at the end. What more could you want? Kirk Douglas had a Viking funeral, and his movie was really exciting in The Vikings. So science fiction's big. Vikings are really popular. Just mash them together, and you get this great movie. Didn't work out that way. You need somebody who can write a script and be imaginative. And as Tony mentioned way back at the beginning of this thing, you sometimes need that. You need to be able to make it interesting and enticing, and how with the clash of cultures and things like that. We didn't have any of that, which is unfortunate. I thought the alien was well articulated, although it has been mentioned in other places. Why did they not? It won't be remembered so much as Alien or Aliens or any of the other monster type films. I did find a comment by Roger Ebert on this thing that I thought was interesting about the plot. And he says this. He says, first Camon's race appropriated the Morrowind planet for its own purposes. Then it massacred the Morrowans. Now it was, planet for their own purposes, and then it massacred the Morrons. Now it was picking off a survivor. Do you think genocide or colonialisms are concepts to be found in Outlander? Not a chance. That's because the Kanan is so human and the Morrowans are, well, just not our sort. I think that brings it really home, is that there could have been something more meaningful, more interesting, but the whole story was completely devoid of that. I think this is another example where they got caught up in the mechanics of doing the film, the mechanics of a science fiction historical film in this case, and it got lost in the sauce. There's no plot. There's no story. Start with the story and then build your effects around it if you have to. Some of the best movies we've watched have zero effects. That's because they had to rely on the plot. Not all of them. Sometimes they had zero plot too, but in many cases it did. Okay, let's see here. Next week's movie. Everybody write this down. It's a goodie. I've never seen it before myself. From 1965, Frankenstein meets the space monster. I didn't know it existed either. That will be next week's movie. So, I'm going to say sayonara to all of you. And if you want to keep up, all the movies and a list of movies are available on Facebook. Go to the upcoming Afterglow movie list, and there's a whole bunch of stuff listed in there that you may find of some interest. That is Afterglow movie, 2 words, Afterglow, and then the word movie, and sign up there. I'll also send you the email with movie links as I find them. Sometimes I have to have a last-minute change simply because the movie's been withdrawn from the streaming service. So that sometimes happens. I don't think this movie is going to be one of those, so you should be safe. I say 7-3 to everybody. Thanks for everybody participating. I had a good time. We'll see you here next week. This is KE5ICX. I'm clear for now. Bye-bye.
KE5ICX N5SQA.
Go ahead, Ron.
Frankenstein meets the space monster. Where does that stream?
Let me look. I think it's YouTube, but let me check.
Okay, while you're looking that up, the other thing is you said you saw the Death on the Nile some while back. The one I'm referring to is the 2020 Kenneth Branagh version, N5SQA.
Oh, I forgot they did a remake of it. No, I've not seen that version. And the movie is on Pluto TV, is what I found here. It's an hour and 32 minutes.
Roger, Pluto TV. Thanks. Good night. N5SQA.
All right, see you later. Thanks for checking in. See you next time. KE5ICX, clear.